the game that happened last night in College Station, Ole Miss taking down Texas A&M 31-28. You and I are both fans of Lane Kiffin because for, the appearance, Lane Kiffin really doesn't give a damn what you think. And that's just who he is, and that's how he is. His quote after the game when asked if they had a Halloween costume or what he was going dressed as Halloween, and Kiffin says, maybe Jimbo has a Joker costume for me. Paul, these are on-camera remarks that are going to just cause fires.
Yeah, and we all made a big deal about Saban and Jimbo as the biggest feud in college football. Let me refresh. It's now Jimbo and Lane because Matt, all week long, Jimbo just ratcheted it up. Someone asked Jimbo on the SEC conference call Wednesday about losing DJ Durkin, his defensive coordinator, to Texas A&M, the former Maryland head coach. And he said, well, we did everything we could, but we got outbid by A&M. He said it seems to be a common theme with that program. Then, that's not shots fired enough before the game. Then he retweets some guy having tickets for sale for the A&M game against Ole Miss for $2. And then he comes back a few minutes later. He's got his dog Juice Kiffin, which obviously somebody runs the account. I don't think, unless the dog runs it. Juice says, "Hey, Dad, can I get 2 tickets? I want to sit with Reveille, the dog from A&M, for $4." Where else do you find? This is just blatant trolling. And then he wins the game, of course. Which very very rarely do coaches double down on a game like this. But you can tell he has no love for Jimbo Fisher.
How did we get to this point let's start with these two. How did we get to this point with these two? With now Ole Miss 8-1 on the season and Texas A&M 3-5.
It started in February, in the middle of recruiting, when Kiffin flat out said what Saban indicated months later, that A&M had bought the class. And then Jimbo went after him, called him a clown show. I don't think he said his name, but it was obvious. Some people thought he was talking about Saban, but he was talking about Lane. And now this, and it's quite a sideshow. And here we sit at the end of October. Texas A&M, which started the season ranked number 6 in the country, now has 5 losses. And they still have to play Florida, Auburn, and LSU.
So Florida, let's give that a push. I think that can go either way. Auburn, I think that can go either way. And LSU, if the LSU that we see now, it depends on how they do against Alabama coming up next week, that you on paper would look like a loss for A&M. So at best, you're looking at 6-6.
Yeah, and one thing about Jimbo Fisher, it doesn't matter what the score is, doesn't matter how many losses. He was talking about the freshman young quarterback, Connor Wedgman.
Yeah,
great, everything's good. The man. Jimbo. But again, you juxtapose that with the $86 million buyout, and he's acting like he has a lifetime deal, which he may.
And they've got UMass sandwiched in there on November 19th. So those are the 4 remaining games. But every once in a while, here's how I'm going to try to phrase this. The SEC will gift us a coach, a personality, but top to bottom, Paul, really a punchline. We saw it with Les Miles. He became a punchline. Even after Edo put on maybe the greatest college football team we've ever seen in 2019, pre that, he was kind of a punchline. Post that, he was certainly a punchline. It appears Jimbo's gotten to that point where I don't know that anyone's looking at this and being like, that's a ball coach. And he is.
I sit with people every weekend, Matt, and everyone still refers to him as a great coach and a great offensive play caller. And I'm trying to figure out, what are they seeing that I don't? I realize these are including Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks, starting quarterbacks, successful NFL players, but I really don't see it anymore. And I think you just have to be realistic. He has wasted a great recruiting class. I don't know where they currently are. I mean, I know they're highly regarded, but here's the issue, Matt. If you're realistic, another loss, and it just feels like there's something stuck to this program, the stigma that Jimbo Fisher can't talk his way out of. And what are those players going to do? Are they going to stay? There's going to be a lot of pressure on him in the offseason and next season. I don't know how Texas A&M boosters think. I have no earthly idea. I mean, we can joke about them having all the money in the world, but nobody wants to spend this kind of money to buy a guy out. So you have to look at this objectively. Why did he get an extension after last season? What is the school going to do if this doesn't get any better? And I'll give you a cliche here because I really don't know the answer. Your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah, I would say the first thing that someone's going to make him do, he's going to have to bring in an offensive coordinator. Going to have to bring in a play caller to work with. I would think. I mean, they're going
to. But doesn't that sound like something after 2 years, maybe 3 years? You say to a coach, you're going to get fired if you don't change this up. This will be his 6th year that he brings in an offense. I think that sounds very trite. And by the way, I will argue, Matt, that sounds good for you to say, and you're right. Who's going to tell him to do that? He is the king of that program. Do you think he really cares what anyone else there thinks?
No. When the AD, goes to him and says, "Hey, you need to make some changes on your staff," he'll say, "Okay." And then he'll just make the changes that he wants to make. Very rarely does the athletics director. Typically, we see it at those programs where the legendary football coach has taken over as athletic director. Mm-hmm. That's when you'll see the head coach capitulate to anything that the AD wants to do. I don't think this is one of those situations where it's like, "Hey, Jimbo, you're under some water. I need you to make some moves for me."
And by the way, he can go out and hire a hot shot offensive coordinator. That doesn't mean he really has to listen to him. I mean, he's the head coach. And I will always argue the head coach should do what he wants to do. If you have to tell a head coach you need to bring in a new offensive coordinator because we don't have confidence in you, what is he being paid for? I mean, Jimbo Fisher is an offensive play caller. He has called plays from the first day he's been a coach. That's who he is.
Yeah, and look, we detailed their 4 games coming up. It's just I can't believe, when you look at it, I can't believe we're here in year 2 with Josh Heupel, just as I can't believe we're here in year 5 of Jimbo when this hire was made.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue that if he did not have that contract, if he had a normal Auburn-like buyout, as we say that as rumors fly about Auburn's coach, and again, if that happens as we're talking today, that doesn't really even qualify as breaking news that Brian Harsin is leaving. He'll either leave today, next week, or the week after. But in Jimbo's case, so it will cost $17 or $20 million. That's an outrageous amount of money. But if Jimbo Fisher's buyout was $18 or $20 million, which is the high end of buyouts in history, I believe he would be gone.
Yeah, no question. That $86 million. That's just. I mean, look. Let's just break this down to its simplest form. $86 million for a college football coach to go away. You could argue, and it was a great segue to Auburn because I do want to touch on them for a minute. You could argue, and I've talked to coaches about this, and you have too. Sometimes, Paul, when they know it's not going well, the goal is to get fired because you get the golden parachute.
Sure.
And that's where we are as a business right now, that the coach's like, well, this isn't working out. Just pay me my money and I'll go away. How many unemployed coaches do we have that are sitting on bags of cash?
Sure. I mean, Ed Orgeron had that funny line 2 months ago at that quarterback club where, hey, when they told me I was going to get $17 million, I said, where do I sign? And which store do I walk? I mean, he didn't care. I'm at this point, I can't. I mean, Jimbo Fisher really deserves an Oscar for going in there every Saturday night after losing to South Carolina and Ole Miss. It's not like he's losing to Alabama and Georgia. And he's talking about, we got a good team and we got a great young quarterback and we got this and we got that. But if you're and on top of that, remember the prelude of the week. He had 3 players, I believe, suspended.
Yeah.
Second time that's happened. all kinds of rumors flying around. Why were they suspended? There's just a lot about this program that is telling you it's coming apart.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus.